And now we're going to zoom in even more. We're going to go right into the center part here, to the person. Here I am, my face of innocence. That's what the Course calls it. We make a face of innocence. And we have some access to the unconscious here. We have memories stored. We have our personal history. We have our beliefs, our basic beliefs. But we're not aware of this bigger field out here. We're not aware of the self-hatred and the unworthiness that's out here. It rarely breaks through so that you can identify it. So usually you think, well, I'm screwed up because of my terrible childhood or whatever. So every life, again, these thorns all around, we have problems and we have needs that aren't getting met, and we have judgments of other people, and we have all of these beliefs, and we have grievances and personal history. And the very first law of chaos is that the truth is different for everyone. Now that establishes differences. So there's God and then there's me. Now there's the number one difference right there. So separation is based on there being differences. There's God and there's me. Duality is true. Two-ness is true. So I have to look out and look at all the differences. And I want other people to validate my uniqueness and my differences, even while I'm finding fault with their differences, because they're less than I am, or whatever, or they have more than I do, whatever. I don't like others. So I'm a body, and so you listen to your I statements all day long that are playing in your head. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm sick. I am disgusted. I am irritated. I am so mad. And these I statements all the time, as if that this is a real person, when it's just a puppet or an avatar. It's just completely made up. But this is the substitute we made for Christ, the Christ oneness and joining. This is the substitute self. And I adore my substitute self. I am not ready. That's why this course is so hard to get rid of this total identification with this. So when I have a flow of ideas coming, like in these charts, I have to live what I'm sharing. So I guess it was about 10 days ago, I had the experience of, I went to the car dealer, spent a few hours there while my car was being, tires rotated and the oil changed and some other work being done. And as I was driving away from there, I was just absolutely engulfed by this feeling of love, being loved. It wasn't personal, but it was just so sweet. And it was just like the eyelid went up and the light came in and I felt the love. So this eyelid is aware of the love here in it. And the love can come through, So after a few minutes, I managed to push that away and distract myself, and I went to lunch. And I was driving away from lunch, and I looked at my dashboard, and it had the little symbol that said that there was low tire pressure. So obviously something had not been correctly adjusted when they did the work on my car. So I turned around and went back. But the feelings that came with that, totally out of proportion to this little thing going on, out came the self-hatred, the big guns. I mean, I was just filled with unworthiness and self-loathing, and that thing that churns in your stomach when you feel horrible guilt or upset and pain. And it lasted, for like a day and a half before it would go away. But it was so helpful to see those things so close together. You could just see that one caused the other. So the eye opens, the light comes in, Resta is feeling loved, or something in me is feeling loved. And then, boom, the eye closed, here comes the self-hatred. And this morning was another variation of the same thing. So I'd had 3 weeks since I decided to do this, and all of these ideas had come, but I couldn't put them together. It seemed like such a struggle to make them go together, to make a cohesive sharing. And I could feel myself, getting nervous, getting upset, getting worried, even though I tried to stuff it down and say, no, it's going to come, it's all there. So finally, I sat down with a pad and paper, and I just opened myself to this, and I just let the thoughts come, those pseudo thoughts. Self-hatred. Nobody wants to listen to me. I'm stupid. I'm an egotist. I don't want to listen to other people, so they're not going to want to listen to me. And all this, it just poured out of me. And then when that flow stopped, I was able to start putting this together. But you have to let those hidden, they're not really hidden, they're right there if you tune into them. You can tune into them. So recently we were talking about addictions and people going on diets and the diets not seeming to work, and why do we keep doing things that we know are bad for us, that kind of thing. Well, just think about it. First of all, this body looks in the mirror and says, I'm too fat, or whatever. And I know that I should be a good hit. My face of innocence says, I've read up on everything to do with nutrition. I know what a good diet looks like and exercise. I know how to be healthy. I have all of this knowledge of how to do this. Okay? Well, in here is the self-hatred that says, you don't deserve this. You deserve to be punished. You are just so unworthy and you're so weak that, of course, sin is necessary, so it's like overeating is necessary. Anything that I can feel is wonderful to the ego. So sometimes I liken it to playing bumper cars. We want to feel pain or pleasure, it doesn't matter which, but we usually specialize in pain of various kinds. We want to have conflict with somebody. We want somebody to betray us and hurt us and call us bad names. We want those painful memories to come up that just swamp us and overcome us. And we want that addiction. Every time you eat, you know you're sinning, but there's a you who's sinning. There's a you who exists. So that's why I'm not saying that this will immediately transform your body into slender, robust health at all. But it basically doesn't matter what your body looks like. If when you let the light in to this closed thought system, it's like, I always say, it's like when cameras used to have film in them. The images of pain and unworthiness and self-hatred and self-loathing and all those beliefs in sin, they start to fade. They start to fade. They start to fade. And you spend more time up here as a lucid dreamer just watching what's going on down here. And so this is what the Course calls indirect learning, in a sense, when you're the observer. So it's like still thinking we're persons. We cannot turn and look at this because it's so horrendous. But we can look from here, we can see how these ideas show up in the life of the body. We can see what's going on in the mind. And so my practice with my body as it ages, this has been a wonderful practice, a wonderful thing to practice with. And various pains come up, and there's a pain in the hip, and there's a pain in the foot, and there's a pain in the shoulder, or feelings of pain, it doesn't matter, physical pain, emotional pain, it's the same thing. So the first thing I do whenever something comes up is I say, oh, thank you for showing me the contents of my mind. And I just remind myself, I take over the little voice in my head and I say, okay, I am choosing to make myself real by putting that pain in my hip. And I just look at that. And I've practiced that so long, so many times, that it can't stick anymore. You know, it won't last very long at all, a few minutes. If anything, I'll forget about it and it will go away. Then another pain will come someplace else. And the pain comes in my jaw or something, and I make up stories about what's going to get worse and worse. And I won't be able to get to the dentist. It's the weekend. I can't get to the dentist. I say, well, now, wait a minute. There is no pain in the body. It's all in the mind. I am projecting my thoughts of self-hatred onto the jaw to make it real. And then the pain clears up. It goes away. So now I've been doing this, rooting around in this whole thing for 45 years. So I can't guarantee that it's going to work for anybody if you're just starting out. But it's, I don't know why it wouldn't, really. So, so is there anything specific that you would like to look at in terms of, you know, how you get from the world to the thoughts behind what's going on in the world?
Well, I think it's a little more difficult when it's something pleasurable. And we deal a lot of times with stuff from a negative standpoint, but I know that when I'm all happy because something went my way, it's just as sleep invoking as something bad happening. But I don't recognize it very clearly.
The minute that you hear yourself, your eye is open. You're hearing yourself get all excited. So that's the first thing. And that's all you do. You just notice, I think that this, you know, this food that I'm getting that's so delicious is making me happy.
But sometimes I don't notice it as quickly as I want to do it. I don't realize it until way after it, and it's like, oh, you were caught up in that, and that was 20 minutes ago, but I don't catch it.
We don't question the pleasure as much as we question the pain.
Yeah. Well, then, you know, work with pain. Let pain be your number one teacher.
I'm getting plenty of practice with that.
Are you?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, you know, where you had the I statements. Oh, thanks. But the my statement that apply to, like, my this and that hurts, or just I see my statements too, in addition to the I statements. Yeah.
Yeah. Mitch? No. Oh, did you? I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So what about like family members watching, you know, their struggles, you know, I think I shared a story with you, and you know, you almost have your own pain watching your kids having difficult experiences, making mistakes. So how would that fit into this?
That's going to flush up all kinds of guilt, because there's a part of you that's delighted that they're having the problem and not you. So you're making them different from you. And then part of you feels guilty about that, because you're supposed to love your kids. You're supposed to care about what happens to them. We have a reciprocity agreement with one another. You believe in my stuff, and I'll believe in your stuff. And if you start breaking that reciprocity agreement, you feel guilty about that. And so the ego's got you coming and going. You just have to watch, because you do have a right mind, and there is part of you that wishes your child well. And but acknowledging that they have a mind, that they are a mind, and they could choose, and that there's a part of them that loves the drama that they're choosing. it's hard to reconcile that. I totally understand. I would say anytime that you just sit down and write out your conflicting feelings and thoughts. Well, I feel this way about this, but then I feel this way about that. Just write them down and see all the stuff that's going on in your mind. And then ask, help me to see this with love and without judgment. Because anything that they're doing is really, they're a mirror for you. So if they're having pain, it reflects your own attachment to this little personal self that can have pain. So it may seem to be happening to them, but it's really happening to you. I really value our social interactions during the week when we just get together, and sometimes somebody will tell a story about something going on, and it will become my story. I'll feel it in my gut. I'll feel the guilt. I'll feel the pain. I'll feel the anguish. And I just have to go in and have to look at it. When I'm all done, I just wish that person well, but I have to look at it in myself. Anything that we feel, we are choosing to feel. This sleeping guy here is choosing to feel. I choose to feel it because it makes me real. Doesn't matter what it is, it makes me real if I feel it in my body.
So if we react and we feel it, then are we, so on some level, recognizing that it's actually our projection?
Well, initially, no, you just feel like you want to push it away.
I mean, something,
When you see
this.
somebody, one of the things that we feel guilty about is the Course says that within you, you love your brother with a perfect love. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you're not doing that in the case of, whatever is going on that's pushing your buttons when you're feeling that anguish. And you just have to be as honest with yourself as you can be. I think that so-and-so and I are separate. I think that so-and-so and I are different. Part of me wants to see the differences, wants to see the pain in them and not in me. But part of me also loves them and longs to be joined with them. So you just name everything that comes to your mind, and that's the way to take the charge off, whatever it is. You will be able to let it go when you've really honestly looked and let the light into your thoughts. The Course says, bring all your secrets to the Holy Spirit. He can't help you if you just keep stuff hidden. If you think, well, he can't help me with this, this is different.
Because we want to remain separate.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the thing about the pleasure thing is what you were saying, Mitch, that sometimes I understand how when I'm experiencing true joy, it's about joining in the right mind.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it sounds like maybe that was the experience you were having when you left the dealership. That was the kind of experience that you were having. But just, I don't know, maybe in the last 6 or 8 months, I've noticed that when that happens, it doesn't last very long. Well, so then as I start looking at that, why is it not lasting? And immediately I understand the ego said, oh, no, you can't do that.
Right.
And
And you
it
don't
does it,
deserve that.
and it does it in such a way as I don't even notice it
Right.
until down the road. But the fact that we can look at it and see it means we're in the observer mode, which means that I can choose again.
Mm-hmm.
If I so choose.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the looking at it is the choosing.
Yes.
It may not feel like it, but that is the choosing. You've chosen to look at it. You've chosen to bring it to the light. It may be pretty ugly and pretty awful while you're looking at it. So,
I find myself sometimes like so socially, somebody tells a story about whatever tragedy is happening to them at the time, and you're saying, I'm so sorry, and you're saying all those things that you feel offer them comfort. And at the same time, I'm thinking, well, you know what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking about that it's something that they bring to themselves for their learning, for their growth, and why be sorry about that? But and so I have that in the back of my mind the whole time I'm going through the social motions of comforting them, and
there's nothing wrong with the
putting
social
the
motion.
praying hands on the on Facebook
Right,
and
right,
that sort
right.
of thing.
Yeah. So John Donne wrote the famous sermon about ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. And he realizes when anything happens to anybody, it happens to me. So everybody is our mirror, and they aren't separate people. I know the temptation you're talking about. Well, they chose it. I'm so tough for them. They chose it. But there's only one dreamer. So we all have chosen it countless times over. And we're all looking in the mirror, all of us looking in the mirror.
Isn't it that thing also my brother cannot see himself as sick unless I agree with him.
Right, exactly.
So that's kind of like, if we're seeing somebody that's in distress,
And it's a child, let's say, like,
I don't know that
who she works
I don't think it matters if it's a child or.
sometimes, to me, it's a little more difficult to say, well, they're choosing this when they're really young.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I'm not even thinking that with her.
Yeah.
I don't.
So
I
anyway,
haven't gotten to
up
that one.
here, there is no young and old.
Right, well then that's
Right,
why
so we
we're-
think,
we're
well, a young body is
emphasizing
different from an
differences.
old body.
Well, but that's an example of saying everything is different, and
Yeah.
all differences
Right.
we need to allow for the exceptions when it's all the same.
Right, and the very first principle of miracles counteracts that, saying there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not bigger or more difficult than another. They're all the same because they're all correcting illusions.
I
Thoughts.
have the awareness that, that she's that all children, even babies, infants, are choosing what's happening. But at the same time, I tend to turn around and blame the adult,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the involved adult.
Yeah. Because remember what the Course tells us, that every time that you're sick, and that includes when a baby's sick, or when a baby is crying because of a wet diaper, behold me, mother and father, at your hands I suffer. That's what they're all saying. And we feel guiltier when it's a child. For some reason. Oh, that poor innocent. There's a whole myth of innocence with children. But they come from the same mind.
Down there, love is conditional.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's
Love is
conditional.
conditional.
Because there really isn't any love.
Right.
It's all
Right,
hate.
there's no, right. We have an illusion of love.
Yeah.